testimony that has been taking over the internet. We will discuss that and a bunch more, but I got to remind you, tpt@tpusa.com is the email address if you'd like to send along your thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms. Love hearing what you guys think. So much commentary from really everything we talked about yesterday in the email, tpt@tpusa.com, or wherever you happen to be watching this, leave a comment, and if that comment or email is gross, disgusting, vile, and bigoted, we actually will probably read it on the show, because that is what this show has been described by several people on the left. And so, if the email fits the tenor of the show, we actually probably will read it here. tpt@tpusa.com is that email. Let's get into this, because I think this is fascinating. A couple days ago, or over the last couple days, Governor Tim Walz took the stand, not the actual stand. He was hauled in front of Congress to do a congressional testimony. Now, here's the thing about being a governor that differs from Congress and the position that Governor Walz finds himself in. Unlike Congress, where you're one of this massive collective, whether you're in the Senate and you're one of 100 or one of 435 in the House, as a governor, you have to actually be able to run the state. Yes, there's politics all over the place. You decide this, you agree with this, you're ideologically aligned with that. But at the end of the day, the fundamental job of the governor is to govern the state, which is why Governor Walz has had the laser focus of the entire media and the entire country on how he's actually running the state that he's governing. And because it doesn't appear to be going super well, he got hauled in front of Congress. And I'll just be completely honest with you, Governor Walz got hammered on Capitol Hill. Well, not like hammered, although that would be hilarious. He'd probably sound like Joe Biden stone cold sober. And also not like, him being a bottom. I don't think that's something he participates in, although that's difficult to prove either way. He got hammered rhetorically is what I'm saying. Now, usually we see these sorts of things all the time, being hauled in front of Congress and being asked questions, but both parties do it, by the way. You bring up a political adversary, you grill them, you really stick it to them, you get your clips, and then you go fundraise. Now, generally speaking, that's usually all it is. Unfortunately, even though we'd love to see more people be held accountable after these hearings, not a lot generally tends to come for them. But in this instance, it is very possible that this testimony from Governor Walz could be different. Reason being is because generally the issues at hand are based around central ideological disagreement. In this case, the case of Governor Walz being brought in front of Congress, it centers around a level of incompetence that is so extreme that it actually borders on criminal. In the case of Governor Walz, his ability to govern the state of Minnesota is so bad that he's either doing it on purpose or he's a barely functional moron, which, again, wouldn't be entirely out of the question, or he's hammered. I don't know what's going on here, but the bottom line is it is so out of step with reality, one has to ask the question, are you doing this on purpose or are you just that dumb? But the objective now seems to be nailing down the extent of Governor Walz's idiocy or his incompetence and deciding whether or not that reaches the level of criminality. Now, we can start with the fraud. This is no secret to anybody. The state of Minnesota has had massive fraud. This has been a thing for the last several years, but really came to prominence last December when Nick Shirley decided to go to a bunch of those Somali daycares that didn't exist and make a big thing out of that. Now, all that really did ultimately was then highlight the fact that there's actually a ton more fraud that Minnesota had already been dealing with and already been under a microscope for. The fraud that Nick Shirley seemed to uncover was actually just additional fraud. Now, I want to play this clip from Congressman Pat Fallon making the case that, hey, there's a bunch of fraud and we're all wondering how this happened and whether or not it's incompetence or done on purpose, which again has some legal ramifications. Watch this and we will discuss. Cut 6.
Governor, do you happen to know what the percentages of all those who have currently been charged in this staggering social services fraud scheme were native-born Minnesotans? What percentage?
I do not have that.
I think it was 85 out of 98, which comes out to 13% Minnesotan and 87% Somali Minnesotan. So I think this is an instance, perhaps, of where woke gets slapped by data. Governor, there's been billions stolen over 7+ years right under your nose, and really there's only two explanations. It's either you were in on it or you weren't smart enough to see it. It's either criminal negligence or wild incompetence. And the only way this kind of fraud can reach this scale is if there's people in power that are colluding and collaborating and willfully blinding themselves to the realities around them.
Obviously, billions of dollars have been stolen from the taxpayer. If you watch the entire testimony, it's actually amazing how much Governor Walz does not know about his own state. Congressman Fallon says, hey, do you know how many people were Somalis who took a bunch of money? I have no idea. He kind of basically said that through the entirety of his testimony. I have no idea of those specific statistics that you're citing. Well, turns out it's a lot. Now, just to line this up, we're asking the question about accountability. So with that, we have to, wonder what laws are even possible for him to have broken, and does the evidence show that, well, he actually was breaking those laws? Well, one example would be Minnesota's state crime, which would be misconduct of a public officer or employee. Now, that would be a gross misdemeanor that could come with a fine of up to $3,000 and about a year in jail. The sections specifically that would apply to Governor Walz would be a public officer or employee who intentionally fails or refuses to perform a known mandatory, non-discretionary ministerial duty of the office, or in the capacity of such officer makes a return certificate official report having knowledge that it was false. So the question is, does any of this match what Governor Walz has done during his tenure as governor or stated in his hearings in front of Congress? Now, the only thing we do know for sure is that the fraud did actually happen. That is indisputable. It happened. So that leaves us with the question of, okay, well, did Governor Walz know that it was happening, or is he just that bad at his job? Like has been the question so often on this show. Are you stupid or evil? Because only one of those two things applies. On the federal side, there is the question whether or not Governor Walz engaged in conspiracy to defraud the United States and the taxpayer. Friend of the show, Representative Anna Paulina Luna, in her referral of Walz to the DOJ in January, alleges that Walz and his administration conspired via inaction, which led to whistleblower silencing or misleading statements to allow false claims in federal programs to continue. Did Governor Walz do things, or did he not impede on actions that allowed the massive fraud to continue? So questions of all of that fraud didn't start in December of 2025. It actually started to bubble up around the Feeding Our Future program in 2018. The Minnesota Department of Education received 30+ complaints about kickbacks, unethical recruitments, fake sites, and inflated meal claims. Oh yeah, we're feeding 50,000 kids here. I only see 9. They're all Somali, by the way, but I only see 9 kids. Are you sure that this is the case? Yeah, we deserve this money. That was happening all the way back in 2018. A 2018 administrative review found 22 serious deficiencies, for example, of poor record keeping and totally unrealistic, outlandish, wild claims of the amount of food that was being given away. Then, in the fall of 2020, the Minnesota Department of Education escalated those concerns to the USDA Office of Inspector General. In early 2021, the Minnesota Department of Education temporarily stopped the meal claim payments. It denied hundreds of new site applications and began termination proceedings, basically saying, okay, we've decided there's a ton of fraud going on here, so we're going to stop all of these payments. But then, randomly, the payments restarted. Why? Well, why is exactly what Congressman Jim Jordan asked Governor Walz. Why did these payments get stopped because of massive alleged fraud and then started again about a month later? Cut 7.
Why didn't you tell the truth about why you restarted the payments? The payments stopped because there were concerns, obviously, it wouldn't stop the payments. Then they're restarted a month later. What was the reason for restarting the payments?
My understanding was the agency believed that the court had required them to make those payments.
And that was false, wasn't it? You repeated that. You said that, didn't you? You said that's why the reason you said the reason you restarted is because the court ordered you to do so. Is that right?
I don't believe that is settled yet, to the best of my knowledge.
Well, I think it is, because the court did something that I don't know if I've ever seen it. They issued a statement saying you were wrong in what you were saying. This is from the court. It says, Feeding Our Future versus Minnesota Department of Education, correcting reports and statements by Governor Tim Walz concerning orders issued by the court. Here's what the judge says. Governor Tim Walz told the media that the Minnesota Department of Education attempted in payments to FOF because of possible fraud, but that Judge Guthman ordered payments to continue in April 2021. Next sentence. That is false.
Huh. So I wonder what's going on. Fraud is detected. Payments then stop, which is good, by the way. That's how we're supposed to do things. If we detect a bunch of alleged fraud, hey, well, hold on, let's stop these things before we go any further so we can investigate the alleged fraud here. So they did stop, and then they started for some reason. Governor Walz said, well, basically, he said the courts told us we had to start again. And then, as Congressman Jordan pointed out, the courts issued a statement, no, we didn't. What are you talking about, Governor Walz? Which brings us back to the original question. Is Governor Walz lying and therefore violating state and or federal law? Or is he just an idiot? We don't know. And here's the thing. Ultimately, this is just the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even touched on the possibility of massive illegal voting or illegal issuances of licenses. There's just a whole litany of things that Minnesota is doing wrong, which again borders on criminality. The last clip I want to play here is almost entirely separate from the financial fraud and instead kind of zeroing in on the licensure fraud. The Congressman Scott Perry asked, hey, all of this financial fraud is kind of apparent to everybody. You've been asked about it a lot. But it seems, Governor Walz, you're also complicit in massive mismanagement when it comes to immigration via handing out licenses to anybody. And mind you, even though I don't think you have to show a license in Minnesota, maybe you do, but in a lot of blue areas, you don't have to show a license to vote. But you're also giving licenses to people who can't vote. So even if you do, what's the point of any of this? This is the last clip I want to play, again, from Congressman Perry grilling Governor Walz on the license processes in Minnesota and how those don't even align with the federal law. Cut 8.
You signed the Minnesota Driver's Licenses for All Act. Is that correct?
That's correct.
That's correct, right? Particularly, the law that you signed eliminates the requirement for Social Security numbers or proof of lawful presence. As a matter of fact, immigration status is classified as private. So literally, the federal government, your partner, as you said, we work with our federal partners, can't use that driver's license information regarding people that are here illegally. Now,
I don't understand the connection between the driver's license and the immigration piece, I guess.
let me make the connection for you. According to the Secretary of Transportation, 1/3 of Minnesota's non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses were issued illegally.
I mean, it kind of explains itself, but in the context of what we're talking about here, these types of decisions have real implications, election implications, safety implications, financial implications. And while I generally think these congressional hearings are typically just fireworks of throwing rhetorical bombs and seeing if you can get somebody riled up so you can make the local news back in your hometown and raise some money for your reelection campaign. I wonder if this actually is going to lead to something. I wonder if justice is about to nail down Governor Tim Walz. And by the way, I mean justice in the legal terminology, not a large flamboyant man, which is unclear whether or not that would be welcomed, nailing Governor Walz down. Anyways, all I'm trying to say is, reverting back to the central theme of this entire show, trying to decide whether people are evil or stupid. Because when people make decisions, like we've all seen all too often, evil or stupid, in the case of so many lib ideological decisions, are the only two options. It remains to be seen whether or not anything is going to happen on this front regarding accountability, but at least it does appear that those possibilities are available. We'll see what Congress and the DOJ has to say about it in the coming months. My hope is that somebody is made an example of, so the massive fraud, both financially and culturally in Minnesota, doesn't happen anywhere else. We got a lot to get to here on the episode today. Coming up, we've got to get to the point. There's lots of points to get to. This is very, very hefty news day, even on a Friday it is today. I mean, that's probably because there's a lot of things going on in the world. TPT at TPUSA.com. If you have any thoughts, implications, do you think Governor Walz will be held accountable to any sort of reasonable degree? Or do you think he'll just, I'll be done being the governor and he'll go be the president of some private university somewhere, have a nice out? What do you think is going to happen? TPT at TPUSA.com is that email address. We'll be right back after the break with Get to the Point.
Welcome to Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Your quick look at the powerful stories of faith and freedom, inspiring audiences across the nation. Angel Studios presents.
I'm Bo Davidson with your Real America's Voice, Real Minute. Did you ever wonder what truly happened in the COVID-19 pandemic and whether Anthony Fauci would ever be held accountable? I think we all have. Filmmaker Jenner First has an upcoming documentary that searches for truth, transparency, and accountability called Thank You, Dr. Fauci.
Governments lie.
Anthony Fauci put everyone on the planet at risk without their consent.
It's beyond suspicious.
Research caused a pandemic, killed 20 million, and cost $25 trillion. Fauci would prefer a lie.
Public trust, national health, and global security are at stake as this documentary digs through thousands of pages of documents and interviews with former officials and whistleblowers in the most controversial narrative of our time that may also be one of the largest cover-ups in modern public health history.
There was a cover-up. Why would he trade the Chinese the most advanced biotechnology in the world?
He's a spy. It's insane.
I don't think this is going to be foolproof. Things are going to slip through.
Fauci knew and lied repeatedly.
Rather than being a partisan hit piece, Thank You, Dr. Fauci is an honest look at the origins of COVID-19 and a potential bioarms race with China. It streams exclusively on Angel Studios app and site starting on October 23rd. And all you need to do is go to angel.com/Rav to stream it. So be ready to watch, question, and share as the quest for truth and accountability continues.
Through every storm, every moment of uncertainty,
everybody needs to pray for Charlie Kirk right now.
Rav has stood strong.
We're not going to tolerate this stuff anymore.
Turn that anger into motivation to save this nation.
When we move together, there is power.
The cries of this widow will echo like a battle cry.
This is more than news. It's a movement.
This revolution of people taking their countries back.
A turning point. A chance to be part of something greater than yourself.
If you come for my neighbors, you will have to come through me.
If you come for my neighbors, you will have to come through me.
If you come for my neighbors, you will have to come through me.
If you come for my neighbors, you will have to come through me.
mean, which direction do we want to go here? Do we want to go with the, I don't know, getting through you is going to be all that difficult. I'm sorry. I usually probably say, excuse me, I'm brown guy coming through. I'm able to do anything in your eyes, so just let me through. There's also the angle of, wait, when did liberals become bad at music? Like, just generally speaking, like, that's been like a thing. Libs, unfortunately, have captured the arts, especially musically, for the last like 50 years. I actually look at this as a positive. Yes, you know, I regret to inform you the libs are singing again, but also, that's just bad. Like, it's just a bunch of people in the chorus missing a bunch of different notes. It used to be the libs were fantastic at arts, and the fact that that is slipping away from their grasp, I'm not entirely sure how upset I should be about that. Also, I'm not entirely sure how intimidating you are on top of all that. Anyways, all right. Hey, there's a lot going on because there always is a lot going on. And because it's Friday, I think producer Glenn has hipped us to several stories that are bizarre and crazy. But at the very least, it is time to get to the point.
Get to the point. Get to the point.
All right, this coming out of KCRA 3 in Sacramento. Sacramento Planned Parenthood now offering Botox / menopause care. A Planned Parenthood, the largest affiliate in California and Nevada, has begun offering Botox injections at $9 per unit, cheaper than the $12 to $15 at med spas, along with menopause care, hormonal replacement therapy, and other wellness services to help offset the $100 million of federal funding cut in the big, beautiful bill, which is their justification for it. Obviously, that's crazy, but I think the crazier thing is, in what context does a government-funded, in too many ways, actually, no, I guess, well, they're not anymore. So, yeah, sure, maybe this is what they have to do. Maybe Planned Parenthood has to, because we thankfully cut a bunch of their budget, really all of their budget, has to issue new ways to make money. Actually, you know what? I don't know that I hate this. I think I read this. I am so used to Planned Parenthood getting a ton of money from the government. It still hasn't quite hit me, the massive win of taking all that money out. I think, well, that's dumb that the government is doing that. But it actually isn't. It's Planned Parenthood as their own separate organization having to figure out ways to make money. And so, you know, while I think it's ridiculous that they're doing that, them struggling to make ends meet, I'm not entirely sure how mad I am at that. But I guess the article does say California still has provided like $90 million in state funding to backfill all of the money that the federal government took away from Planned Parenthood. So I'm back on the hating it train. Very complicated story, I guess, here. But Planned Parenthood offering Botox. Don't do that. Just don't. Don't do the Botox. Don't especially do it from Planned Parenthood. Just don't. All right, next point. U.S. government contractor. This is from the New York Post. New U.S. government contractor busted on a ritzy Caribbean island for stealing $46 million in crypto from U.S. Marshals Services, the FBI says. U.S. government contractor was arrested in the Caribbean island of St. Martin in a joint operation between the FBI and the French Gendarmerie? I'm not even sure how you say that, but some French legal authority for allegedly stealing $46 million in cryptocurrency from the U.S. Marshals. Now, the interesting part about this is the U.S. Marshals have $46 million in cryptocurrency to steal? I don't exactly know how that worked. The dude who was arrested worked for a Virginia-based command services support, a company run by his father. The government contractors, dude. Which held a federal contract to manage seized digital assets from the U.S. Marshals for the U.S. Marshals Services, giving him access to private cryptocurrency addresses and funds. So we hire a contractor, us being the U.S. government taxpayer. We hire a contractor. Hey, can you seize these assets on behalf of U.S. Marshals? So he does, and then he steals, allegedly, some of those assets, $46 million in cryptocurrency from the taxpayer. freaking great. I mean, this is like a broader argument for like smaller government. When you have smaller government, you don't have the possibility of any of this. Like, just smaller government, so you don't have to use so many contractors. So therefore, the contractors don't have the ability to steal $56 million freaking dollars, $46 million from the freaking U.S. Marshals. All right, wild and crazy points. Next one, Justice Department. This is from CNN. The Justice Department auto pen investigation isn't over yet, official says. Thank goodness. President Otto Penn needs to be held accountable. The Justice Department continues its investigation into whether or not aides to former President Joe Biden violated laws by using auto pens for actions beyond what he authorized. Now, it's going to be very difficult to prove, but I do think this should be investigated. What did he authorize? What was his mental capacity at? And I also would guarantee that there are more cameras and recordings of him that we don't have yet, which is why I think these types of investigations matter. If they can get a hold of somebody in the administration probably recorded private meetings, just not for like the intelligence in those meetings, because I don't necessarily know that that should be made public, because I don't know if that poses a risk to the American people, but instead just to listen to hear, okay, how incompetent was he? And if he was way past even what we thought, which is pretty far gone, could be equated to a hammered Tim Walz, pretty far gone. If he was way past that, then yeah, what were the aides doing and who was doing it? And what kind of power did they actually wield? All of those questions are super interesting. It's now being handled by the U.S. Attorney's Office in Washington under Jeanine Pirro. And so I would imagine she would want to make a big show of it. So all that's to say that investigation is not over yet, and we could see some fruits being born out of it. Next point to get to. All right, this is shocking, not surprising. Zohran Mamdani, who I feel like we haven't talked about in a very long time. Really interesting. That guy was at the front of there's a lot of other things going on, and New York continuing to crumble, but a lot of other things to talk about. TPT@tpusa.com if you'd like to send me some pronunciations of Moron Zamdani. Sorry, that's the Pig Latin version. Some pronunciations of the mayor of New York's name. Feel free, TPT@tpusa.com. Zohran Mamdani's wife liked a bunch of social media posts celebrating the October 7th attacks, which comes as a surprise to no one. The Syrian-American artist who he married in early 2025, they're still brand new newlyweds. Nobody wants to see trouble in paradise in a marriage, but this is still very new. And also the added pressure of being the mayor of the most powerful city in the world. Yeah, could be rough going. Who knows? I don't wish that upon anybody, even people I dislike and disagree with politically. But just looking at the possibilities, doesn't seem unlikely. Anyways, she liked multiple Instagram posts on her personal account that celebrated or justified Hamas's October 7th attack. Killed 1,200 people, wounded thousands, kidnappings, sexual assaults. Pretty much a terrible, horrible thing. One of the posts that she liked had the caption, "Breaking the walls of apartheid and military occupation, resisting apartheid since 1948, therefore killing grandmas and babies is totally justified." Great, cool, fantastic that somebody like that is married to one of the more powerful political players in our country. Fantastic. And speaking of powerful political players doing bad things, Representative Tony Gonzalez will not seek re-election, to which I say good. Look, there's a ton of people that are like, super concerned about like the margin and it getting slimmer. And, what if he loses? What if the incoming person loses that seat? If you're not hip to this story, I don't want to bury the lead. Texas conservative Representative Tony Gonzalez announced on March 5th that he will not seek re-election. After intense pressure of him having an affair with a staffer who later, unfortunately, ended up committing suicide in September. There's a bunch of text messages that got released, and she clearly was having an affair with the congressman. I am pro him resigning. There have been a bunch of, again, the margin is super thin. I get that. But also, we need to have some parameters as conservatives. I have always, one of my biggest crusades has been the right needs more conservatives. And I mean that in like the traditional cultural lifestyle sense. Like, yes, we want to be financially responsible. Yes, we want to do things that make sense and are in the interest of the American people, but also just in our personal lives. We want to be like good people. Like conservatism is a lifestyle that bleeds into politics, not the other way around. And therefore, like, if you have a settled conservative life, generally speaking, that is what leads you to want more conservative value, to conservative policies, because, you like your life. Like things are going well and you don't want the unknown change to affect the things that are going pretty well. And so if your, personal life is chaotic and wild and crazy, chances are, probably won't be the most conservative person in office. I'm not even talking about his voting record. All I'm saying here is this is the line too far in terms of action by a alleged conservative. I'm sure his voting record is pretty conservative, but yeah, adios, bye-bye. So there's that. All right, well, we got to a lot of points here. Lots of stuff going on in the day. My favorite segment of the day, official business, coming up next. TPT@TPUSA.com if you have any thoughts, comments, concerns. What do you think about Representative Gonzalez not seeking re-election? Do you think that seat is continually winnable? Do you think that that's a wise choice? Do you think he should resign? I think he probably should resign, just in general. Maybe have like a special election just to kind of, yeah. Got a lot to say about that. I'd love to hear your thoughts. TPT@TPUSA.com. We'll be right back after the break with official business. Don't go away.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office,
Pilot?
Yes, he's a captain.
Excuse me? Were you a captain? Mm-hmm. Just want to apologize. I didn't turn on airplane mode.
You're okay.
Yeah,
it didn't affect anything up here. No.
I mean, there's a little bit of turbulence. That wasn't because of me? No? Okay.
Fine. Don't worry about it.
Thank you.
I mean, I could make you feel bad and say yes, but...
Oh, no.
I've always wondered that. I'm curious about your thoughts. TPT@TPUSA.com. I've always wondered if this billion-dollar machine, hundreds of millions of dollar machine, is operating on the same communication level as my couple $100 cell phone, I think we have bigger problems, right? Like, I think that's the case. But I did, to argue against myself, I did read a thing about why going into airplane mode doesn't necessarily affect the plane, but it affects phones on the ground. Because what I've heard is, especially during those climbing to cruising altitude and coming down for landing, you get that intermediary height level, altitude level, where in theory, your cell phone can be picked up by the ground antennas. And by doing so, it restricts the bandwidth for the people on the ground, which is it kind of blows my mind. Planes that are like when planes fly over an area or community or businesses getting to the airport, if a bunch of people have their phones not on airplane mode but on cellular mode, the reception on the ground in that area gets super weak. It's actually really interesting. Again, my whole thought has been like, there's no way that this $100 million machine is operating on the same communication platform as my cell phone, so it doesn't matter. But it may in fact matter to people on the ground. There's way too much information that you didn't probably ask for on cell phones in airplane mode. So yeah, without further ado, let's get to my favorite part of the show. When people in elected offices and in positions of power more broadly, bureaucrats of the United States of America, or even in foreign governments, take the stand to say things and on their platform issue statements, either bold or not, it is official business. First up in official business, the officialness of the business starts with the governor of the poopiest state in the nation. We got a couple emails a while ago about, hey, I don't like you saying poopiest state. I'm sorry, it's just what it is. I wish I could change reality and say that California, with my full confidence, I can say that California doesn't have human feces spewed across all of the downtown areas of the major metropolitan areas, but I can't, unfortunately, in good faith, tell you that. So unfortunately, I'm required by my own moral compass to continue to call California the poopiest state. Is it unbecoming? Maybe, but you know what's more unbecoming? Is people freaking allowed to poop on the streets. Anyways, governor of that state, where that's like accepted, was talking about an issue that the overwhelming majority of Americans agree on. Not the overwhelming majority of conservatives, the overwhelming majority of everyone. The SAVE Act, which would require people to do this crazy thing called prove that you're eligible to vote. Now, why anybody would want to do that is beyond me. But maybe one of the reasons is one of the reasons that Governor Newsom gives. Go ahead, and this is cut 9 on official business.
It's the SAVE Act. That's not about ID. It's about registration. It's about who gets to vote, who doesn't get to vote. They are not screwing around. We will lose this country. But first, we cannot lose our minds over this shock and awe.
Now, the hilarious part about that is I was with him for the first part. It's not about ID. It's about registration. Who gets to vote? Correct. Yes, that's exactly correct. We should see who gets to vote. Eligibility is a real thing. The people that are allowed to vote should be allowed to vote, and the people that can't vote, the people that are coming into the country illegally, not here, a permanent residents, green card holders, not citizens, in other words, they can't vote. So I was with you for the first half of that, but then to go off the rails and say, well, we're going to lose democracy. Yes, ensuring democracy exists in the way it was stipulated in the Constitution is at risk of losing it. But of course, that was not the only piece of official business that the current governor gave us of California. And if it couldn't get any stupider, well, it actually did. Governor Newsom went on to make this comment about his willingness to participate in a podcast discussion with a guy who says the United States deserved 9/11. This is cut 10.
And I'm out there at TwitchCon. I'm meeting with gamers and streamers. I'm doing Fortnite Fridays.
Would you go on Hassan's show, Twitch? Speaking of which,
might, yeah,
Hassan Pike, you might.
Yeah. It was just in the past.
Okay, sure, go ahead. I mean, that's not going to help his campaign. So, yes, while it is vile and disgusting that he's willing to go do that, especially with a guy who's again said America deserved 9/11. Yeah, but politically speaking, I think that's probably advantageous for those of us who don't want to see the governor of the poopiest state in the nation turn the entire country into the poopiest country, which would be very, very difficult to do, especially if Indy is in the running. But it's possible. He can. If anybody can do it, he can. So we don't want to let that happen. So, is it vile and disgusting and bad? Yes. Also, would it be politically damaging to him? Yes. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. Probably not. I don't want the Overton window shifted so far that you have that as an acceptable outcome, possibility of him joining that guy on a podcast. And at the same time, if it damages him politically, when your opponent's punching themselves in the face, why stop them? Speaking of punching themselves in the face, there's enough talk, at least in my opinion, there's ample talk about the Epstein files. It is everywhere, and that's totally fine. We've talked about it briefly here on this show, but at the same time, I think there's other things going on from a politics standpoint that is, in my opinion, it's more important. It's more culturally relevant. Now, I'm already seeing the emails. There's nothing more important. Yes, fine, okay, cool. Not necessarily more important. There are other things happening outside of it. So we haven't talked about it a ton here, but I did want to play this. This is a Lib representative, Johnny Owalitsky, I think his name is, maybe mispronouncing that, admitting that, hey, you know, the whole Epstein thing, the Libs hid that for even longer. So now they're actually coming out, which, you know, is what it is. And the main point being made here is, yeah, they didn't do anything for 4 years and somehow are blaming conservatives for not doing things fast enough. Watch this, cut 11.
People are starting to be held accountable. But I will say, look, Democrats got it wrong. Merrick Garland and Joe Biden did not act on this. And I think as Democrats, we have to own that too.
Yeah. So finally, somebody sign it. Yeah, there's that. All right, wrapping up official business here. I wanted to get this. I know we've hit Governor Tim Walz enough. Not enough. We've hit him a lot today, rhetorically speaking. What's one more? Why not one more? Here is Governor Tim Walz on DHS and ICE and, well, just tampon Timmy being tampon Timmy. Got 12.
They don't believe they're accountable. And so I can't say it enough. Don't give them any money. Don't confirm a DHS secretary. Continue to drag them in front of you and put the guardrails around.
Yeah, ironic there. Yes, Governor Walz doesn't believe this faction of the federal government is accountable, and also he's not accountable for the billions of dollars in fraud being stolen while he was the governor under his nose. Rich. The irony is rich. Do we have time for one more? We do have time for one more. Here is the the Lib nominee for Senate in Texas. The more I watch about this guy, the more I feel confident that Texas ain't going blue anytime soon. This is Jaime Talarico, which I think is the pronunciation that we settled on. TBT at TPUSA.com if you'd like me to pronounce it a little bit differently. I don't know how it's supposed to be pronounced. But talking about genders. Cut 13.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than 2 biological sexes. In fact, there are 6, which honestly, Representative Hefner surprised me too. Surprised me too, because I am not well versed in this issue area. I'm not a scientist. I'm a politician, a lot worse than a scientist.
Why is that a thing that libs keep saying? I'm not a biologist. I'm not a scientist. We know, dude. He's like, there's 2 sexes. Hey, what is the adage that we made popular? Charlie made popular. There's one God, 2 sexes, and infinite personalities. Good luck with that one. Of all of the hills to die on, good luck with that one, Jaime Talarico. All right, hey, that'll do it for official business. Coming up next, it's Friday. We're getting down to the latter parts of the show and therefore the latter parts of the week before we send you off into what is hopefully a magnificent weekend for you and your family. We're going to have some more fun. Fun Friday coming up right after the break. TPT at TPUSA.com. Don't go away.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
friend. And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access. Plus, commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois, and we like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guests. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump coming for retribution.
We have the #1 military in the world, but I don't think people really understand what that means. We have the #1 Air Force in the world. Do you know what the #2 Air Force in the world is? China. The United States Navy. #3, China or Russia, if you believe their numbers. #4/5, Space Force. 3 of the top 5 air forces in the entire world are us. The #1 Navy in the world, us. #4 Navy in the world, us, our Coast Guard. And this doesn't have anything to say with the 150 million Americans that are hunters. We're so much more powerful than anybody else.
Is anybody else like pumped up about that? I'm sorry if you're like about to go to bed. I know it's late, especially on the East Coast. And I'm sorry if you just got amped watching that. That's what happened to me last night. I was doing what I was doing. I found this video late last night, and unfortunately it was wired for the next 30 minutes and couldn't fall asleep. Ugh. Yeah, top 3 of the top 5 air forces in the world are all freaking us. Hell yeah. Oh man, I don't even remember what we're talking about. Oh, it's Fun Friday. These clips have been curated by producer Glenn, so if they're ridiculous and completely unrelated to anything, you can go ahead and blame him. Producer Glenn, I was just about to give your real email away. TPT@TPUSA.com, though, if you'd like to send Producer Glenn some thoughts on whatever these clips are. But regardless of whatever they are, it is Fun Friday, so we're having some fun. This is unseen from me, at least until now, cut 15.
Hey, fool, where you from?
I don't want any problems.
Nah, you got a problem, fool?
No.
You know where you at?
Nah, I'm Korean. I'm okay.
Where you from?
Korea.
I told you it's not where we preach the word of Jesus.
Huh?
Hey, fool, where you from?
I don't even know what to say there. That's a funny sketch. It's a funny sketch, but it's also, maybe it's some commentary on some of the aggressive tactics of the street preacher type. Like, teach their own, but also there's tactics that have generally we've agreed upon that these work better. Maybe two aggressive looking dudes aggressively preaching the name of Jesus. Maybe it won't actually bring the most people. Maybe, all I'm saying is the work you're doing seems to be fantastic. And also maybe let's hone in on tactics that may actually produce more fruit. All right, fun. All right, cut 16. Let's see what this is. gotta get it. If you're just listening to the podcast, somebody set a phone on a car and said, I'm going to prove to you that Nigeria is safe, and then was filming it. You know how people do that. I love those. I love those justice videos where they like rig a bike to like explode. They put it on like a stop sign and somebody comes and steals the bike, and then like 3 pedals in, the seat explodes. Those are hilarious. But that effectively is poking fun at what they were doing. And I get it. They're filming and they're ready to just unleash their own form of justice if someone were to, in fact, take the phone. I like it. It's fun. All right. That was Fun Friday. We're having fun. We'll be right back after the break. tpt@tpusa.com. If you have any thoughts, comments, concerns, criticisms, those can go into our email address. We've got some fun stuff. I also wanted to... I'm not going to talk about it. We're just going to go to it. We'll be right back after the break. Don't go away.
Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play. Real America's Voice is growing, and now it's all in one place. Introducing the new and improved RAV app, built for access, community, and choice, not paywalls. Here's the key. RAV is still free to watch. No sign-in, no membership required. Your favorite live streams, breaking coverage, and video on demand are all right there. Free, just like always.
For the War Room Posse, we have to be a force multiplier on this. We have to stick the landing.
In the White House, in the Oval Office, you're crushing it, my friend.
And if you want more, the members section is your backstage pass. Get exclusive behind-the-scenes photos and videos, insider moments from the studio and the field, and early access to new content before it goes public. Members can also unlock special experiences like virtual meet and greets, member-only auctions, and select event access, plus commercial-free viewing of certain shows inside the app. It's not just an app, it's a community. Download the RAV app today. Find it in the App Store and Google Play.
Florida Sun Goddess here. Let me tell you why I love RAV. They let my voice be heard. They give me a platform for community so I don't feel alone. Thanks so much. God bless.
Hi, I'm Chris from Illinois, and I like to watch Real America's Voice in the War Room with Stephen K. Bannon for all the great guts. Everyone from Kerry Lake, the great Frank Gaffney, Trump coming for retribution.
Hello?
Hey, what's up?
Not much. What's going on?
I've got kind of a random question for you.
Okay, what?
I was wondering if I could come over and help you work on your house and drink a bunch of beer.
Yeah, that would be awesome. I would actually love to help.
Okay. Do you need me to bring some beer?
No, actually, my fridge is full of beer right now, so just bring yourself.
Sweet. When should I come?
You could come over now.
Okay, perfect, because I'm already in your driveway.
That sounds like so much fun. In all honesty, that sounds like fun. I'm not a drinker, so I wouldn't do the beer thing, but there's a couple friend of ours who are looking at houses in the area that we live, and like I hope they get a house close to us so that I can go over there and work on their house. That just sounds like so much fun. All right, let's get to some of the mailbag questions, comments, concerns, emails, tpt@tpusa.com. Remember, if those emails are gross and disgusting or critical of me, feel free to send them. Actually, we might get to one of them. I'll stop talking so we have time to possibly get to them. First, wanted to bring up from yesterday's mailbag, Jeffrey, on the topic of immigration. He said, you should look up the statement by President Teddy Roosevelt on immigration assimilation into the USA. It's so relevant to, he said, my topic, but honestly, the broader point. Producer Glenn looked up the quote. In 1907, Teddy Roosevelt said, in the first place, we should insist that if the immigrant comes here in good faith, becomes an American, and assimilates himself to us, he shall be treated as an exact equal with everyone else, which, correct. For it is an outrage to discriminate against any such man because of creed or birthplace or origin. But this is predicated upon the person's becoming in every facet an American and nothing but an American, i.e. dual citizenship. We can go off on that tangent, but we won't. There can be no divided allegiance here. It goes on to say any man who says he's an American but also is something else isn't American at all. We only have room for one flag, the American flag. It goes on a little bit longer, but for the sake of time, I think we get the gist of it. Yeah, great. Thanks for pointing that out, Jeffrey. Really appreciate that quote from Teddy Roosevelt. Once you're an American, but you have to be an American. I think distills it down pretty appropriately. Some criticisms. I'm coming in for a kick in here. Jack, thanks for watching the show, Jack. It's not to mean to be disparaging at all, but he says, please stop waving your arms all around while you're speaking. It's not professional. Very distracting. He says, your talks are very interesting. Thank you. Appreciate that. But the presentation sometimes can be annoying and distracting. I'll take that. That's fine. Derek, how ironic is that? I say, sure, I'll take your criticism and do the exact thing I'm being criticized of. You know what? I am open to suggestions. I'm not sure how much I can control the hand. You know what it is? I'm married to an Italian. So she exclusively talks with her hands, all the things. And I believe it can be more. I will try and tame it down a little bit, but no promises because of my Italian wife. James, on the topic of Gavin's self-own from yesterday, best moment on the show. Appreciate that. He enjoyed staying home from work just to watch the show. Now, I wouldn't suggest calling out sick for work. I'm not sure that's what you did. I'm not entirely suggesting that you should do that. But also, if that's the only way that you can take in the show, I mean, what other choice do you have? Like, you can't go to work. It's unfortunate. But thank you, James, for the compliment. Last wrapping up the weekend. Mark, on the topic of one Mr. Fetterman, who is just so interesting. That guy's the most, we don't need to continue on. Guy goes into a mental health hospital, comes out a conservative effectively, says he's a dino, a Democrat in name only. That's actually, I like that. Huh. Whatever works. Especially if we can get his vote on stuff. Remember, he voted with conservatives not wanting to limit the power of the president in dire situations such as Iran. Anyways, that is all the time we have today. Have a great weekend. Unplug from the news a little bit. We will see you Monday, same time, same place. God bless America.